All right, welcome. It is um 6:02 p.m. and 6:04 p.m., my bad, and I will call our executive board meeting to order. Thanks all for being here tonight. And just a quick reminder, if you're not speaking, if you could just mute yourselves and then just unmute when you want to speak, just for um, so we don't talk over each other. All right, any changes to the agenda? I have one. But any other changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing and seeing none. The one change I'm going to make is I'm going to table the approval or the vote on the secretary's report from November, from our November executive board meeting, due to, I think, the switch over in our revised um, website. Those draft meeting minutes were not, they're not available on the website, and the link was to the old website, so they're not actually technically available if you tried to get them. So just to make sure we all have a chance to read them and take a look at them, I'm going to table the vote on our November 12th meeting minutes until our next meeting. All right. All right. With that, we're going to skip our administrative reports and go right to the main item for tonight, which is the Londonderry Town Plan approval and planning confirmation. And Chris and Matt sent around both the Londonderry Town Plan as well as the staff's review and analysis of the town plan for compliance with our statutes and our requirements. And hopefully everyone saw those and had a chance to look. And then I'm going to turn the meeting over to Matt, who was nice enough to be here this evening. And I thought what I'd asked Matt to do, just because there was some new members on the board, that I thought would be helpful, just to do a quick sort of, what is our, as executive board, sort of purpose in this whole scheme of reviewing and approving town plans, just real high level oversight so we can all understand what we're doing here, and then move forward with the review of the Londonderry Town Plan.
Sure. Thank you, Gabby, and nice to see everyone. Just so you know, I have a cold that I'm fighting, so if I need to pause to cough, that's why. But I'm doing okay. It's not too bad of a cold. So just to give you some background information on WRC's role in this process. So some of you may know. Um, Up until recently, we had a project coordination committee that was the main body that reviewed town plans and made a recommendation to the executive board or full commission. The project coordination committee is no longer meeting, so these requests are the executive board has seen them before, but I think with no longer having the project coordination committee, there's a little more review that's happening at the executive board level than previously because that had gone through a committee process. Um, we still do the same staff review of the town plan for compliance with statute requirements that we did with Project Coordination Committee. We're still holding the required public hearing when we receive these requests from towns. But I just wanted to provide that context too about the change in the committee structure over the last couple of years. Um, so for town plans or for towns, once they've adopted their town plan, they can choose to request Regional Planning Commission approval of their town plan. They're not required to. So a town can have a adopted town plan and updated zoning, and that town plan is still fully in effect, even if it doesn't have Regional Planning Commission approval. Um, there are some benefits for towns to get WRC approval, eligibility for certain grants as one of the main ones. And so all the towns in our region that have town plans um, have asked us to review and approve their plans. Um, and in that review process, the main things we're looking at are, does the town plan have all the required plan elements, which are listed out in statute? So this is really do they have the content in their plan that's required under statute? And that includes things like the land use section, housing, community facilities, natural resources, transportation, all those plan elements and supporting maps in the plan. Then we're also looking at the is the plan consistent with it's now 15 statewide planning goals. And so those are broad goals that have been set in statute that we as a regional planning commission in our regional plan also have to have a plan that's consistent with those same goals. And so these are 15 broad goals around land use planning, housing, community facilities, flood resilience, energy conservation and efficiency, a number of different goals for communities. And so in that process, we're looking at does the town plan have adequate policy language and goals within the plan that would help the town realize or achieve those statewide planning goals? Then we're also looking at the compatibility of their town plan with our regional plan, and also compatibility with the plans for surrounding towns. And those are the three main things we're looking at for the town plan review and approval. Um, we also do the confirmation of the municipal planning process. That's a separate vote for the executive board. So if the town plan is approved, then the board excuse me, can consider confirmation of the municipal planning process. And that there's three main components of that is if they're engaged in a planning process, if engaged in a planning process that will help them develop a town plan. So this is kind of the culmination of that process is they've gone through the process, they've adopted their plan. So we're confirming that they had a planning process that met the statute requirements. Um, they're engaged in a process to implement the plan. So you know, do they have a active planning commission? Are they budgeting for next steps to help implement the plan? Are they updating their zoning? Are they carrying out projects that might be discussed in the plan? And then are they maintaining efforts to provide funding for local planning efforts in their own budget? And are they supporting the Regional Planning Commission through membership dues? So those are the two things. That's the town plan approval and confirmation of the municipal planning process. You'll see in the staff memo that I put together. I like to include at the bottom after the recommendations just some general comments. I get to look at a lot of town plans, and I like to kind of highlight things that I found particularly strong in a town plan. I think it's helpful for me to kind of highlight that, and I think helpful to share with other towns what one town might be doing especially well. And then it's also an opportunity to just provide comments on, a plan might meet all the minimum requirements, but there might be some areas where the next time around they could make some improvements to the plan. So those comments include both strengths and opportunities for the next plan update. So that's just an overview. Happy to answer any questions.
And then I'll just add that, when we had the PCC that, we used to also have the hearing, right? There's a public hearing at this, Matt does that prior to our meeting. Now, we used to do those sort of sequentially, one after the other. And so the town has already had their own town hearing, and then the WRC has a public hearing to take comment. And so we've already hit those two public hearings by the time we've gotten here. And the members from the town mayor are always welcome to, or any member of the public is always welcome to join one of these meetings and observe, but they're not required to by any means. So I think from my perspective as a board, as a commissioner, I'm looking to make sure staff has, done the review, check, take a look at it, review ourselves, and then, if we, based on our experiences in our own towns, have comments or um, uh, either, again, like Matt has strengths, or ways we might, based on our experiences, recommend that they in the future improve, or could improve their town plans. I feel like we're not trying to put our own judgments or, make our own comments about another town. This is their town's plan. It's not for us to say, but we can certainly, in the comments section, make comments or recommendations about what they might want to look into in their next iteration of their town plan. Bill?
Yeah, Matt, this is Sideways Bill. Um, on page 66 of the Londonderry Town Plan, right at the very end, there's a section on compatibility with adjacent town plans. And I'm quoting here, it says generally, and they're talking about the compatibility of the Londonderry plan with Wyndham's plan. And it says generally the future land use districts are compatible except for the northeast edge of the border. A natural and scenic resource is the Glebe Mountain Ridgeline, which borders most of the town. Wyndham's land use is rural residential with low to moderate density. Londonderry's requires low density development. And it says the town should confer with the Wyndham Regional Commission to assure that the adjoining land uses do not have an unexpected impact on Londonderry's low density resource land use designation. I don't want to get too far into the weeds here. I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about, but I do want to say that Wyndham's zoning prevents any development in forest lands above 2,000 feet, and that includes the whole ridge line of Glebe Mountain. So I don't think there's much chance at all that our town plan and our zoning is going to cause a problem for Londonderry. I'd be happy, again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but I would be happy to talk with you and with members of the Planning Commission from Londonderry to resolve any problem they see with compatibility with our town plan and our zoning. I don't think there's a problem. There's one little rural residential district that maybe that's what they're talking about, but there are no houses up on the side of that mountain and certainly none at the top of Glebe. So anyway, that caught my eye when I read their plan, and I'm happy to have any conversations that might help resolve what they see as a small incompatibility.
Yeah, thanks for raising that comment. I actually I had not seen that myself. They hadn't contacted me or mentioned it directly to me, that comment, but I'm happy to follow up with Londonderry Planning Commission just to see if that's something they would like to have a conversation about.
Okay, and if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Steve Lemke?
Matt, I have probably the simplest either yes or no on this, but it struck me that on the front cover and the inside front page, there's no inclusive dates. So, like the Guilford Town Plan says, Guilford Town Plan 2022 2030. And we've always wanted that on there because when not everybody's familiar with town plans and the length of time that they're good for. So I would suggest maybe putting the dates someplace, the inclusive dates of the town plan on the front page.
Thanks. Matt, can we add that to our comments?
Sure. Yep. I can add that.
And I think maybe, yeah, we went right into the Londonderry town plan. So I guess it seems like everyone is prepared. I don't know if anybody wants Matt to do a high level review. I feel like his summary is always good, but if somebody feels otherwise, I guess at this point, it seems like we've naturally and organically jumped into the discussion of the Londonderry town plan and our review of it. Yeah, Gretchen.
Do we normally have more time to review? I just got back from vacation yesterday and I had a crazy day at work today. I was like hoping that I would be able to review this. And so I feel like I really need to abstain from this. But I just wanted to know moving forward, should I be blocking out some time during our meeting time during the day to review these?
Well, I mean, I can put some thought into it too, because I mean, I think as you may have seen just in the cover memo I provided, we received the plan from Londonderry back in mid-November. And so you know, we could think about, is there a way that we can share the plan with the executive board much sooner. You know, you don't need to wait for my full review. Like, we could share the plan with you earlier, so you have a chance to much more time to look at it.
That would be
That'd be
great
helpful. Yeah.
because yeah, like 30 hours for me is not enough. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and yeah, and typically we will know too, like well in advance when we expect the plan will actually come to the executive board based on your meeting schedule. So it could be simply me once I have it and I know we're holding the public hearing on such a date and we're expecting this will come to the executive board on such and such a date, I can just send you an email with a PDF of the plan.
That would be great. I might be the only one who needs that, but I'm sorry.
It's all good, Gretchen. And
We
just so you know,
understand.
again, we've been making this transition from a different committee into this structure. So I think it's a work in progress. So um, we appreciate your comments.
Yeah,
and your
I mean, I
feedback.
got to review a little bit of it, but I don't feel like I got to review enough of it to vote. So, my apologies.
Totally fine. And I think we'll just revise our procedure and as Matt discussed, and then we should have plenty of time. Stephen Chait, I saw your hand.
So that would be very helpful. In the natural resource section, they have some discussion about habitat connectors, but it's only basically for riparians, and they don't deal with it for the full range of wildlife that the connectors should be serving, especially larger mammals. So I would think there'd be a suggestion that they broaden out the discussion of habitat connectors. Thank you.
That sounds good. And I think we could just add on to that one bullet that already sort of suggests that, and maybe add that detail in there as well. Just flesh that out.
And
Yeah, Stephen?
there was one other thing, which is reading through the early parts of the document, they refer to Vermont state law, but they never give the citing of the statutes. And then when they get to flood resiliency, they start doing that. And I was wondering, it always seemed to me in the town plan that it was useful, though not always exciting, to provide the statute information because it just, one, gives the reader a place to go, and two, it seems to make the plan slightly more maybe official in a way, and less of a narrative and more of these are the requirements we have. So I thought they would benefit by early on in the report identifying the relevant statutes.
I
Sounds
can
good.
add that too.
Yeah, and consistency across, include that for consistency and for reference throughout. Yeah.
And
Yep,
one,
Stephen?
one petty little thing is the format and the type, not thinking of the word, but the format is not consistent. It's very ad hoc as they go through it, and the spacing isn't always consistent. Now I know that's a small matter, but it does make it a little more readable when those things are in order. So Font,
we-
I'm sorry, font.
I think we could just, yeah, maybe we just have a bullet that says, like they can work next time towards consistency throughout the document, including
They clearly were in
example.
a rush and they got it done.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
it
just
I
looks-
know, I know. I really want to be supportive that they got it done and stop.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for the town, but I know as you may be aware, they've been working on updates to their zoning bylaws for a couple of years, and they're very close. I think they're holding a public hearing in a week or two. Very close to finishing them. And then, yeah, I think there was a realization that the town plan was expiring in October, and they're not able to update their zoning bylaws if they have an expired town plan. So they wanted to, there's a kind of a readoption of their existing town plan. I think their intent is once they're done with the zoning to go back and spend some more time in doing a more complete update of the town plan, but needed to have it in place to finish out the zoning, is
Thank
my
you.
understanding. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Any other thoughts or comments about the town plan or this analysis? Yes, Steve Lemke.
Matt, I have a selfish question. Do you know if they got a community grant for putting the the zoning bylaws into place, or did they do it on their own with no outside assistance?
I'm pretty sure they did have a municipal planning grant to do that work. I know they were working with a consultant on that, and then at some point, I think they just kind of took over the project themselves
Okay.
to finish it out. But at least initially, they did have a municipal planning grant.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other comments? All right, thanks, Matt, for getting everything together and your preparedness, and for being here.
Cool.
Since we have no further comments, I would entertain a motion to approve the Londonderry Town Plan as adopted by the Town Select Board on October 29th, 2025. Thank you, Anne. Do I have a second?
I'll
Thank
second.
you. Oh, Rick beat you,
That's
Bill,
fine.
by one split second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we have a motion by Ann and a second by Rick to approve the Londonderry Town Plan. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? None. Any abstentions? Gretchen. Thank you. So motion passes. The second motion I would entertain is a motion to confirm Londonderry's municipal planning process. Thank
So
you. I
moved.
see Steve Lemke. A second.
I'll second.
Bonnie. Oh, Bill. It's
Oh,
off
I'm so
camera.
slow again, sorry.
Hurting your chances tonight. So I have a motion by Steve Lemke, a second by Bonnie, to confirm the municipal planning process. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any abstention? Any nays? Any abstentions? Gretchen, thank you. Motion passes. All right, and we'll work on getting things, materials earlier and make sure everyone has enough capacity to review things. Sorry about that, Gretchen. All right, next up is our discussion about the 2026 our full commission meeting schedule, which Chris spelled out briefly in our agenda.
Matt, you can head out if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna take off, but nice to see everyone.
Thanks. Feel better, Matt.
Hope you
Thank you.
feel better.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Gabby, sorry, were you asking me to talk about the proposed meeting schedule? Sorry,
Yep.
Anyway.
I know you're taking minutes at the same time, but yep.
Yeah, so basically what I'm proposing is we follow the same schedule as 2025. which was kind of front loading it. So that way we don't run into it. By statute, we're supposed to have a minimum of 6 meetings per year. That's also what we say in our bylaws. So it's proposing January, February, April, July, August, and October, with the caveat being that we may need to adjust it some to take into account adoption and sending to the Land Use Review Board of the of our regional plan update before the December. There's a whole process we have to go through to submit to the LURB. They have to give them like 60 days to review a draft, and then we submit for final approval after we get comments back. So we may need to amend that, but I just wanted to see if you guys were okay with that schedule generally, or if you had any concerns. But we can always have more meetings than the 6.
I think that makes sense. It worked well this year. So and generally, we'll have our August meeting will be our business meeting, our annual business meeting, and then the October meeting sort of becomes more of a social meeting.
Okay. And I'll just note as I mentioned, Janet Hurley, the new director of the Land Use Review Board, will be our guest at the end of this month. And then what I've proposed lined up for February is a presentation by the Scenario Planning Graduate Student at UMass Amherst of the Deerfield Valley 4-town flood adaptation process that we went through. They did a fantastic job. They're refining some of the final work, and so they'll present that in February, unless we have other business that you would prefer to cover. But I thought that would be really interesting for people to hear and see. Okay.
Take silence as approval. So it looks good, Chris. Thanks for laying that out. And Chris, can we have Ashley just sort of send this timeline out, or the meeting schedule out for all the commissioners so they have a heads up? Rick, did you want to say something?
I don't know if this is the right time, but the Act 181, the commission's role in that is a little fuzzy to me, and also the public education. There's been quite a lot in the paper about people who are concerned / upset about what 181 will do to their property rights. And I'm curious about what role we would play in any education, also what role we play in building the maps. And this might not be the right time, so tell me whenever we can discuss that.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot, and we've covered it a few times. Rick, maybe it'd be best, unless others have a question, maybe it'd be best for me to follow up with you and have Matt and I follow up with you individually, unless others need a refresher now. Anybody else? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Bill. I'm just trying to figure out and Gabby, don't let me override you, whatever you're.
Nope. I think that's good since it's not on the agenda, but I think Rick, I want you and Chris or Matt take that offline. And if there's something that you think is important for us to have as a discussion as a group, then just let me or Chris know and we'll put it on the agenda.
Great.
And just so all the new sort of exec board members know, I'll reiterate this because no one usually does that. But if you have something you want on the agenda, let us know. We want to make sure you are, we are meeting about what you want to meet about, not just what maybe Chris and I think we should be meeting about. So please.
It wouldn't be a bad idea for exec board in February for us to have Matt give an update on where we're at in the process. So Gabby, would that be okay with you for like a February agenda item?
Let's plan on that. Thanks, Rick.
Sure.
Bill, did you have a question related to all this? Okay. So I guess we're at appointments. Bill,
Yep.
Sorry, I did not say to what committee. Adam Grenold to Brad.
No, that's okay. I knew what you were talking about. So I would like to make an appointment of Adam Grenold, who is the executive director of BDCC, to join the Brownfields Committee. Just as a member of the public. So not, a non-commissioner, I shouldn't say non-commissioner member.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yep. Yeah, Steve Lemke?
Laura will still be the commissioner.
Correct. Because I know you talked to
Laura
her.
Sabine.
She's this it's called special interest, but a citizens interest commissioner for BDCC / economic development. I know, unless she says otherwise, and I know we'll follow up with her again before our next annual meeting, but my understanding, my understanding is from you, so you can correct me, Steve, is that she wanted to continue.
Yeah, she did not express any interest in not doing it. So,
Yeah, this like just to be clear, in case anybody's wondering what we're talking about, the brownfields committee, any committee that we have, we can the chair and the board can appoint non-commissioner members. They can serve only in an advisory capacity, and so that's what the suggestion is: have Adam Grenold on, and he expressed interest in serving on the brownfields committee, and they have good insight, right, into economic development and activities going on in the region. And I think it also is not only do they bring information to us, it's also good information transfer to go back, because Laura, especially with her legislative schedule, isn't able. And Laura's a citizen interest commissioner. She doesn't have to serve on any committees. And really attendance isn't even required necessarily at full commission or other meetings. So but frequently, like she had been on the brownfields committee, I think at one point. I'm trying to remember, but of course her legislative schedule makes that really difficult for a good portion of the year. Okay.
All right. So
Adam would not have any voting right, is what you're saying.
correct.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't think you need a vote, do you, Gabby? You just want to make
No,
sure.
I just need
okay.
somebody. I just need to have nods, and so I think it's the bylaws say I can appoint with like confirmation or assent by the or something by the exec board. So I always bring it to exec board in case there's an issue. All right. Next up is the executive director's report.
All right. So the new website is live. If you ever use it, and like we just discovered tonight that the draft minutes were posted, if you ever use it and find any errors or find anything missing, don't hesitate to let us know. We really appreciate all the good work that staff did. And I think the goal was to, when I first came here, we actually had a very, very, very early website, I guess you would say. And so the version that we used was actually really up to date and kind of modern from when I took over in 2010. And of course it got outdated, but I think the new platform looks modern and Jeff really paid a lot of attention to the hierarchy of information that was presented and and ease of navigability. So I think we've landed in a good place, but if you have any comments to the contrary, don't hesitate to let us know, because the whole goal is to make it as usable as possible. The audit is complete. We'll want to have that we don't have it back yet. But we may have that for like a February or March agenda item for you guys to review it and acknowledge it. But there were no findings. They were very, very, very complimentary. Vanessa and this particular group of auditors does I think probably the majority of RPCs in Vermont, as well as other states, and they're not easily complimentary. I can say that. So I do not take the compliments that went to Anessa, and then also, of course, y'all as the boards and the finance committee stewardship of it. We're in a good place. So that's good news. And so once that's ready, we'll bring that to you as exec board and to the full commission. Let's see. I mentioned the Four-Town flood adaptation planning process. So we'll have a presentation of that in February. Gretchen, I don't know if you saw the students' final presentation in December, but I thought they did a great job. I don't know how you feel, if you want to say anything about it.
Yeah, I think that they did an amazing job. It was great how they even went out of, like into like how each of these different four communities could actually share services, which, the more that I think our government body keeps hearing these things, I think it could save towns money. And I think that they did an amazing job, and I think that that will show through when they present to us in February.
Thank you. Yeah,
I
and
was I was
oh,
hoping to go in person, but I was not able to. So, but I did it by Zoom.
just a gig actually made the trip from Whitingham. Actually made the trip down and was there in person. But the students did a great. They offered to be present at the Wilmington town office, so it was great that they kind of divided up and did that because it was not last minute, but I mean it was that was like an additional logistical challenge, not challenge, but end of semester, right? Trying to get all that kind of having to divide and travel north. So I thought that was great that they did that. In the other related university collaboration news, Conway, the Conway School, Graduate School of Landscape Design, last year they did that. We hired them to do work for us to develop an outdoor recreation inventory and analysis. They really enjoyed working with us. So this year they reached out, say, hey, can we work for you for free? Because it was a really good experience for our students. So we're going to be working with them on, I suggested or asked that they work with our staff here, and then we'll figure out exactly how we work with planning commissioners in the towns about really developing screening criteria for how to best adapt our historic village centers and downtowns for flood adaptation. And so the difference between this and like what UMass did here, we're talking about like screening criteria for actual land. And so like screening for like the higher ground within the village centers and downtowns. And by village centers, I'm not talking like the state definition of a village center. I'm talking like what a town would consider its village to be. So let me strike the center part of that. Villages and downtowns. But also like thinking about like, are there lands within or immediately adjacent to or in otherwise close proximity? What are things that you want to look at? So it'd be things like, obviously, what are the flood hazard and fluvial erosion risks, steep slopes, habitat blocks, habitat connectors, wetlands, streams, other things. But to basically, provide guidance for us, kind of just organizing it as professional planners, we kind of know what we're looking for, but this would also be something that we'd create in a very usable form to share with planning commissions to really try to, again, encourage them on how to think about that. Because what I'm finding is I'm not knocking what the towns are doing. The planning commissions are doing a great job, and especially on a volunteer basis. But I think in some respects, we're so unused to growth or change that I'm not seeing them really exploring how to start evolving up and away from flood hazard areas, or how to make the most of those of the villages or downtowns, the areas that are at least risk of flooding, how to make more robust use of those to accomplish whatever the town goals are for their villages and downtowns. So they're working on that this semester, and we'll probably be convening planning commission members with the students to kind of, just have conversation about, so to what extent are you thinking about this? What factors do you think we should take into account? What factors are you taking into account if you're doing it? The other thing that they'll be doing, we met with them today, is I asked them to research precedent so that they can actually show examples of other jurisdictions. I said, don't limit it to New England, don't limit it to the United States. Just look at where communities have successfully looked at how do you, again, evolve up and away from flood hazards. But really thrilled that they reached out to us to say, hey, we have room on our spring project roster. Would like to work with you again. So that project last year was around $27,000. So basically, if you want to monetize it, it's like a $27,000 value for free. So anyway, the only charge tomorrow I go down, or Thursday I go down and just talk about planning, the professional planning with the this year's class at Conway. Also working with University of Vermont on a project. It's probably going to be a multi-semester, multi-year project on developing guidance for how towns can, options for how to plan for a reuse of buyout properties, and ultimately how to manage them over the long term. So working with Amy Seidel at the Rubenstein School on that. And then I had, we've been having conversations since 2014 about what are councils of government and how might they function in Vermont. And so I'm the point person for RPCs and the primary point person for the project as a whole, working with a UVM Master of Public Administration capstone class. They're going to research what councils of government are, their structures, and basically just provide baseline information about what these things are, how they've been used in other places, to especially support intermunicipal shared services, and how they might apply to Vermont. The goal isn't to advocate for them or against them. It's just to provide basic information that the legislature, anybody, the VLCT, anybody, towns can use to just kind of get a basic understanding, kind of tutorial of what councils of government are, how they function, and some student recommendations about how they might function in Vermont, given our town governance rubric and how to achieve the desired goals. One thing I am asking them to do, because what I find and I understand it, is in a lot of conversations, there's either not a differentiation or between governance versus, and I hate to use the term versus, but governance versus operations and administration. I think governance is kind of used just in a generic way without actually, in some cases, I'm sure it is used intentionally. When they talk about the legislature created a regional and county governance study committee. And right when you talk about governance, you're talking about just that governance, the collective functioning of collective governing. If we're talking about intermunicipal governance, to me, we also critically though, and where I think most people are coming from, is about operations and administration, not necessarily collective governance, but collective operations and administration. So up front, what I'm suggesting is they really differentiate between what is governance and what is operations and administration. Is that making sense? I know it's a public administration. So if you're talking about regional governance, that implies the existence of a regional body that is governing as a region. Right now, Vermont, regions don't govern, right? Whereas if we're talking about regional support for intermunicipal operations and administration, we're not governing, we're just supporting efficiencies and service delivery, and hopefully cost efficiencies too. Does that help kind of frame the difference? Because when you get into it, right, that's where the whole local control thing can get really sideways really quick. And so if you're talking about a council of, if you're talking about an entity that more elegantly pulls together select boards to decide what is it that they want to do together and what do they want to put their own money towards, and those that don't want to put money towards it don't get the benefits of it, but they don't also have the cost. That's a very different conversation than how do select boards govern a region together, or who is in charge. Yeah, anyway, so So to me, we kind of need to differentiate between what those two things are. Does that make sense? And again, the point of this isn't to say this is what should happen or what shouldn't happen. It's just to provide that baseline information. Because the other issue we've had is that there was some opposition to the concept of councils of government because of views of being creeping countyism when we first talked about it back in like 2015, 2016. By we, I mean we as a state. And so it became this kind of, it ultimately became the intermunicipal shared services language and statute now that really hasn't resulted in any new intermunicipal shared services that I'm aware of. But then after the 2023 flooding, the legislature and a lot of members of the legislature, state agencies, other people started talking about, wow, we really need councils of government and we need them now. And they're going to solve everything. I mean, I'm really kind of not making light of it. I mean, I was here, they're going to solve like post-disaster recovery. Councils of government are going to help with, the sheriff is talking about a council of government to help support policing. I think he's talking administration and operations, not governance. But anyway, they were thrown out there as kind of a potential solution to everything without, I think most people who are talking about it having that baseline information, or at least we as a state broadly having that baseline information about what the heck these things are anyway. So that's the goal of all of this. So, yeah, Ann?
I think what you're saying, which resonates with the experience I've had on Long Island, is that language matters. And if you choose your words carefully when you start, you can avoid some big blowouts
Yes,
that sideline everything.
exactly. And I will say, I mean, even among the RPC directors, I think there's a variety of both, thinking about both understanding of the terms and then also approaches. So even among people who may think about it more than others, there's not necessarily that common understanding. And my background is in public administration. I think about stuff that most people don't want to. So it's kind of but I think it'll be helpful. Yeah. So that's that. And so now I'm going to get in a couple of meatier things that I'll try to go very quickly, Gabby. It's just I should have allowed more time. Things have kind of happened over the last couple of days. So, or since we created the agenda, right now in the budget discussions that are being kicked around, there's a proposal to reduce the funding for any entity that relies on the property transfer tax by 1.5%, which then this would be both like regional planning commissions, municipal planning grant program, Vermont Housing and Conservation Board. I'm not sure what all else, but it's not punishment. It's just the property transfer tax receipts are down, so they're having to reflect that. And this would be for RPC, the share of the RPC fund property transfer tax as a whole. We still don't get anywhere. We still don't get the formula that's laid out in statute, but it'd be 1.5% or about 1.5% reduction from what the base was for this for this current fiscal year. What that would translate into in real dollars for us would be about $10,000, but we've benefited. We were basically level funded for about 20 years. And then around the pandemic, we started seeing increases. Last year they substantially increased our base and gave us 3% on top of that. But I guess the point I'm just trying to make is, if we're level, we're going to be asking for. There's still some conversation about possibly, doing more of an across the board increase of 3% statewide just to keep up with costs. Others are saying, level funding, maybe a target. Others are saying, like in the case of the property transfer tax recipients, 1.5% cut. This is all still very much in the air, nothing set in stone. But it's my responsibility to start thinking ahead to what the future is going to hold. I shared with you guys, I don't expect you had time to read it. The Emergency Management Performance Grant is still on hold by FEMA nationally. The state will be resubmitting an application per FEMA guidance at the end of January, but they still don't have any guidance on how to handle this again nationally, how to handle sub applicants. So I don't know exactly. I don't know what to anticipate as far as whether or not we'll actually see emergency management performance grant funding. The other thing, and we don't need to discuss it now because it's not. There's nothing set in stone. There's no action to take. But what FEMA had proposed was that sub applicants would have to submit bios or resumes for not only all staff but all board members. In this case, it'd be all commissioners, so that basically FEMA could verify, I guess, that they're U.S. citizens and that we're not doing, what's the term? The colloquial term is woke things, but that and myself and other RPC directors just kind of commented, I don't know that commissioners would want to give that information. To me, that might be a non-starter, but I'm sure this conversation is happening in every jurisdiction across the United States. So it's nothing that we have to figure out. It's nothing you need to fret over now. It's nothing just because FEMA may change that. I know there's huge pushback. I'm sure from both blue and red states, because frankly, I imagine a lot of folk in red states don't want to give their information to the federal government either. So nothing to do on any of this. But I shared with you the testimony that I submitted in my Vermont Associated Planning and Development Agencies Emergency Planning Committee chair hat. And it kind of lays out for you what the implications are of all this. So I won't take your time now, but nothing for y'all to do, nothing to be done. We're just trying to raise awareness within the state, within the legislature about this isn't only impacting state agencies and program delivery. This is what the trickle down effect is ultimately regarding our service to municipalities in the emergency planning, mitigation, disaster response, recovery realm. So any questions around that?
I apologize. I need to leave.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
Stephen.
night.
See you next time.
And then lastly, what I want to bring to you guys either in February or March, I may start in February, is ever since I've been here, we've been very flexible as far as not really only asking towns to enter into what's called a municipal services agreement. This is where they need to pay us to do work that they would have us do, would like for us to do when we can't charge that time to some other item like transportation planning initiative or emergency management performance grant. So we just kind of pay attention. If it looks like it's going to be something that's going to take a substantial number of hours, like actually drafting plan language, drafting zoning bylaw language, not fielding questions or just doing basic maps. We've always tried to kind of absorb those costs. The municipal services agreement page on the website, and the agreement itself has language in there about when these would come into effect, but it hadn't been changed since before I was director, so going on 16 years. So I think we need to review that because, frankly, I think we're heading towards in a position to, and we may even be there. We're heading towards a position where we're going to need to have to start asking towns to pick up the costs of more substantial work that we don't have the ability to charge to other grants. Because if we're starting to look at a decrease or level funding across a number of different programmatic areas where or otherwise we could charge time, we're going to have to ask towns to be able to support the maintenance of the capacity they've come to rely upon. So I'll start drafting something up, but I'd like for you guys to kind of see a draft and a proposal first, and then Gabby, unless Gabby, you'd rather have other members of the exec board involved in it from the outset. But right now, I'd kind of like just put my own thinking and staff thinking into it and then bring it to you guys, and then we can figure out how to proceed with a conversation about it. Because I need to kind of look back at what we've historically done. I want to see what the other RPCs are doing. I think in the RPC world, we've probably been, well, I really don't know. I was about to say, I think we've probably been more inclined to absorb costs as opposed to kind of, asking for reimbursement for those things that we can't charge out. But I actually don't know that that's the case, but that's why I need to do some research on it. And I don't know that this is going to be the case, but I'm just going to put on your radar now something that we may need to be thinking about come June or July. Typically we have ever since for a very long time, on the town assessments, only increase them based on what the consumer price index has been. So effectively, keeping up with inflation, we've been level funding for a very long time. It is entirely possible that next year we're going to have to ask for a greater increase. We could also, of course, we can look at shaving our budget wherever we can, but I think you guys know our budget is pretty lean. It's really in personnel and just basic personnel support costs. Our travel budget's not particularly high. I will note that we had our fiber internet access through First Light. It was expensive. It was like $500 a month. We're moving to I think it's Xfinity for $79 a month. So we'll be saving there. We're gonna have to figure out our phone. We're looking at our phone system. If there's we're gonna prop right now it's through First Light. We're gonna lose some bundle savings, but I think it's still gonna be considerably less than the difference of what we're paying with the internet. But anyway, I'm sorry to go off on that rabbit hole, but basically there's not a lot of fat to trim. And so we're going to have to, so I've already been talking to staff. We need to be entrepreneurial as far as looking for other grants to apply for. Of course, the grant world is contracting while demand is increasing. So we're just going to have to figure out how to make all this work and be as, absolutely efficient as possible. So again, no worries yet. I'm just telling you as director, I'm paying attention. And I'll be bringing, we'll be thinking, Les and I are always kind of perpetually formulating the coming year and year's budgets in our head. And so I'm just trying to prepare staff and everybody else for conversations that we're going to need to have. But I've also stressed with staff, some of you are new, the prior exec board, I've communicated this to them before. I believe in being very transparent with staff about budgetary issues. I've been surprised when I was a staff person in another organization, unnecessarily so I couldn't plan accordingly for whatever. So I'm just keeping them in the loop, telling them don't panic, nothing to worry about, but just want them to know that, and hopefully provide some comfort to let them know we're thinking about it. And also to kind of say, this is what's within your power to control. And so as you see grant opportunities for us to support our towns, to support the region, support the implementation of the regional plan, be consistent with our work program, let's talk about it. Let's see if it's worth pursuing. So that's, I think that's, and then I'll just end on some really good news. Athens successfully, they adopted their first town plan by a vote. I think it was like 43-8. This was the third run since I've been director that they made a run at it, and that's fantastic. And they're on the verge of adopting their first local hazard mitigation plan. And they're also on the verge of adopting, I think they're on the verge of adopting or soon taking up adoption of flood hazard bylaws and being able to join the National Flood Insurance Program. And that town has a lot of flood risk exposure. But they also don't like to tell their neighbors what to do. So, but but I'm really, really proud of them, how far they've come. Yeah, so it's great to see that. So any questions for me? I know it was a lot, and sorry for taking so much time.
Yeah, Anne?
I just wanted to correct one thing you said, Chris. I think it was 2 years ago, we did raise the fees for the towns, for the WRC by more than the rate of inflation. And we didn't have a peep from any town.
Okay. But it was a small, it was a very small,
It
was it
was
like a rounding up or something, right? I mean, it
It
wasn't,
was no, it was more than that, is my memory. It wasn't, it was still, I mean, still what we asked the towns is, in my opinion, a very, very, very small
yeah,
drop in the bucket, but it was more than just a rounding. We went a little bit
okay.
higher. And what was striking to me was not one town pushed back.
And years ago, I think this was pre-Gabby, uh, we had really kind of, not like before I even got here, had really kind of fallen behind on any kind of rational level of what the town assessments should be. And so during another lean budget time, we increased. It was a fairly substantial increase to the town assessments, but by most town budgets, it was still pretty damn small. You know what I mean? We're talking hundreds of dollars, not even that many hundreds. You know, not thousands of dollars or anything. Gabby, was that before you that we?
That was before me. Yeah, when I started being commissioner, I think we were sort of doing like 1%. Like we were so worried about doing anything more than like a 1% increase. And then like I think I don't know, Anne, I have to look back. Things are starting to I'm getting old. Everything's starting to meld together. But I remember our big thing was like, we're gonna go with the consumer price index and do like 4%. Um, so there were, and that we've been doing that for the last couple of years, just going with the consumer price index just to keep up with, inflation. So we could take a look back, but I do think we should take a look in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things, and then also look at, when we ask for towns to pay for us for services. I think it's important to put it in, sort of take a look at do a survey and put it in context for the towns if this is going to be a new ask for them that they're not used to. I think that'll be important for the towns to understand. I know a lot of towns are being, pulled this way and that way with budgetary constraints coming from all angles and more work being put on them. So I think it's important that we make sure we keep up our quality of service. I think we provide a really good return, for what towns invest in us. But I think it's important that we frame it as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what I was going to finish with that story was it was a fairly substantial increase, and this was when Mike Shaughnessy was still with us, and finance manager. We were just kind of like, we're going to get pushback, not anything. And in fact, I kept hearing it was almost more like I almost felt like, it's a wonderful life. It's like, oh, George needs help. Let's help them. It was just, it was kind of, it was actually really, it was kind of touching because the only comments like we got back was like, oh yeah. Well, actually, a lot of the comments we got like, we should even ask for more. I don't know if they would say that now, but, and just to be crystal clear too, we're only talking about this in a context where we can't charge that time to something else, right? So like transportation stuff, we'll continue to charge to TPI. Hopefully, maybe MPG will come back, we'll charge it to that. But we're only talking about things that we can't otherwise get reimbursed for that time from some other source. This is not a money-making venture. This is just trying to support our basic operations. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say also, I mean, other members can speak up, but my opinion is, I know staff goes above and beyond in what they do for us and for their towns. And so I would say, if cutting the internet bill by a few $100s somehow impedes them from doing the work they want to do, like in a an efficient way, or brings down morale, I would, I think it's reasonable to say, like, yes, we need to cut things, thinly, but I don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face, right? Like penny wise, pound foolish. So I'll put that out there for you too, Chris, just to, I know you're trying to do the right, do the right thing as the executive director and start thinking about what things we can or can't cut. But, maybe the finance committee too can sort of take a look at some, like what's our expenses versus our, like some like ratios to see, like, are we in the right place? Expenses versus revenue end for the size of the staff we have, and does that give us some solace, like, like maybe we can't cut any more than we already have because that would actually be bad for staff. I don't know. Those are all my thoughts. Steve?
Chris, I don't know if I had a dream or a nightmare about this, but did you once, a few months ago, mention updating the commissioner's manual?
Yeah, I just haven't had, yeah, we kind of left it where I would do it as I found time, and I haven't found the time yet.
Yeah.
But we need, it would be good to do that. In a quick scan, they're not that out of date. The main thing is we talked some about not necessarily specific committees, but we kind of part of it was like the day one as a committee, as a commissioner. It's just some of the documents make reference to more heavier committee participation than what exists now.
Yeah.
So it's really more of that, and I just need to just find the time to get in there and kind of dig into them and see what some of the edits need to be.
If you want
But did you
help,
have an idea, Steve?
Well, I said if you want help, let me know. I think I worked on the last one, so
You
I think
did.
it would be with new commissioners and new committee structure and things like that. It's probably a good time to update it.
Yeah, no, it is. And I'm just so you know, I'm not putting it off because I want to. It's just it's been
No, I understand.
it's just been kind of a busy time.
Maybe what we could do is just have, maybe have Steve Lemke take a first pass at it and then pass it off to you, Chris. That way, at least it gets it off your plate.
Steve, if you're willing, that would be great.
Yeah, I think I'll take a look at it, make some big notes, and then we can get finer and finer as we go along. But some things will be easy to add and others to subtract. So I'll take a whack at it and come back to everybody.
What I will do, Steve, is let me actually get you the Word copies of those documents because I think they're PDFs on the website. So, but
Yeah,
anyway, we'll get them to you to make it
Big
easy to
help.
kind of review and annotate them.
Right.
Okay.
Chris, did you have any other reports for us? Those are all very good and sombering for the most
No,
part.
I'm sorry for taking so long. It just things
Don't
just
apologize.
they kind of, after we created the agenda, it was just, and plus I guess my head was gradually getting back in the game, but really just things have just kind of started popcorning as the week went on.
It's all good. Just glad you're bringing it to our attention. So thank you. All right. Any committee chair reports? Anything that happened at a committee that you think we all need to be particularly aware of? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to review of action items. And Chris, maybe we can put that the revision of the commissioner's manual on our action items. And I know the other action item off the top of my head is I know you also had in your plate because you had nothing else to do, revising sort of our procedures.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I guess, boy,
I
overstepped because Steve, I thought you were somehow in my head. I translated that to you looking at all of this stuff.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe Steve will volunteer to do that, but I think he at least
So
at the.
I'll make a note. Steve, get Steve the commissioner manual. I will ask Steve, do you mind also? I'm not trying to put this overload you, say no, but in addition to the commissioner manual, would you be willing to look at the commissioner job description as well?
Yes.
I think that's a good idea. I think they go hand in hand.
And then I will review the rules of procedure.
Yeah, and I know we had it on for Q1 of 26, so I'm just keeping it on our action items if it needs to move back up or down, on your priority list. That's fine, but I just wanted to keep it on the front burner.
So
And I
Chris,
will, just for situational
should I
awareness, I'll
connect
just
with
note,
Ashley?
I'm not anticipating right now. The legislature is going to be so focused on education and other things. I don't think I'm going to have a particularly busy legislative. I'm sure there's going to be some. I'm probably around like emergency stuff, but I don't think like in the Act 181, there could be some potential amendments. That's primarily going to be around the whole like tier 3 and road rule discussion and other stuff. I don't don't see me getting pulled into a lot of other stuff. So which is all to say, as far as, some years I'm up and forth, back and forth to the legislature, which takes time out of the office and away from other work. But I don't see that happening this session, but I could be wrong.
Steve Lemke, did you want to add something?
I just want, Chris, should I get in touch with Ashley, or do you want to tell her what to
I'll
send
take
me?
care of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's all the action items, not having anything in front of me to remind me of November. But if we missed anything, we'll circle back at our next meeting. With that, that's our entire agenda. So thanks to everybody for staying a little later, and thank you for Chris for your report, and for Matt's prep. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Anne. Second, Steve Lemke. Non-debatable motion. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. That's unanimous. We are adjourned at 7:14 p.m. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you in a couple weeks at our full commission meeting.
Thank you all so much.
Ciao.
Thank you, everybody.